So we've got ourselves game number 2 between 3 between ShoWTimE and Namshar. Score is going to be displayed at 1 minute into this game. So please, if you are watching on YouTube on a recording later on, please watch the first 2 games because you are going to miss a lot if you don't. On the top left hand side here of Backwater LE, we've got ourselves ShoWTimE, a very well known player. His name is Tobias, Sieber, 23 years old, from Germany, and also representing Team Arma. Arma team, that's actually the way it's written. His opponent, Namshar, with a fantastic performance so far, not on any team at the moment. His name is Christoffer Kolmodin. He's 25 and he is from Sweden. So the scores are going to be displayed shortly, so once again, these are spoilers if you have not seen the first 2 games. And looks like Namshar going for the same type of build once again, so going straight for the hatchery first. Let's see if he's going to put on the gas first this time, or the spawning pool. Why do I keep calling things wrong? So yeah, exactly the same build that he did in the previous game. So spoiler is now going to be on the screen. Each player is now on 1. Quite a nice showing actually. I think that ShoWTimE absolutely demolished Namshar in the first game. In the second game it didn't work out so well, and I think that Namshar just rushed him. I mean, he didn't rush him literally, but once he secured a bit of an economic advantage, he destroyed 2 adepts that were a little bit out of position, and at that point he just steamrolled his opponent with a big massive influx of Zerglings. So that was pretty much that. Not a whole lot that could be done there to hold off against that amount of Zerglings. So Backwater, what a weird map. I like the jungle theme of it, but the weird noise that keeps going on in the background, I don't know whether I just need to disable the ambient sounds, because it is just freaky and it's weird. I simply don't like it. It's just odd. Gives you a really weird feeling, but this kind of gives you the feeling of the map of Xeris in the Legacy of the Void campaign. If you haven't played it, of course. Sorry, not Legacy of the Void. This was Heart of the Swarm campaign, which if you haven't played, you probably should. It's quite an epic game, really. Actually, all 3 of the campaigns are quite epic. I've played through them recently once again, just out of nostalgia. I don't even know how many times I've played through them at this point. I've done them all on Brutal. I've done most of the achievements in all the maps, and of course I've played the campaigns probably about 9 or 10 times at this point. It was the same with the Starcraft and Brood War campaigns actually back in the day, and even recently I've played through them about twice in the last 2 years. And I've also, when the games actually released on the original Starcraft, I actually watched played through the campaigns probably a good 20 to 30 times during my earlier life. So yeah, that's pretty much that. Now let's see what we're going to have coming out here. It looks like a Phoenix on the way for ShoWTimE. All quite standard so far. It does look like Zerg tends to go for the Phoenix quite often in the start of the game, and then potentially either building more Phoenixes or going for an Oracle. Now Oracle, it doesn't seem like ShoWTimE is too fond of Oracles. Didn't really work out for him in the previous game, yeah, I think that he might just go for a bit of Phoenixes to get shut down the actual vision. Now this Overlord is hilarious. It's like I better get into the base very quickly before I get destroyed, because I'm dead anyways. So might as well see a bit of what's going on in the base. Getting destroyed there. I don't think he would have seen that the fact that this is being chrono boosted with another unit there, but he probably would want to be careful. We'll see if he's going to put up a Spore Crawler. Yes, he does start one already. That's going to be in the main base, and that's probably in anticipation of an Oracle. The question is he going to actually bring up an Oracle? Because right now he's gotten himself 2 Phoenixes, and that's about it. Sorry, not 2. There's actually 3 of them with a 4th one on the way as well, so that's actually quite a big deal. Now, when you've got this many Phoenixes, you could actually start picking off probes as well. So let's see if he actually does that. Now, Creep Spread is starting here for Namshar as well, so not too bad of a choice as well. So taking off this Overlord. Now, the problem with a large amount of Phoenixes is that once you start getting so many, you can actually start destroying not only not only drones but also overlords. And destroying overlords for your opponent is of course going to set him quite far back, as he won't be able to build any units, and at that point he's not expanding, not building armies, and there's not really a whole lot that he can do. So there we go, he's going to start to do a bit of economic damage, managing to catch out this expansion without any spore crawler. Going to of course pop that on there any moment now, just to get that extra bit of defense. Now the third base is already on the way for ShoWTimE, so he is going to be getting prepared for getting the extra economic advantage, or rather, sorry, catching on to the economic advantage that Namshar has. Now picking up a queen here, will he manage to snipe off a queen? That's actually quite a big deal. Does manage to lift it off again, gets destroyed, and this is the second queen that's going to possibly drop here. These phoenixes, while costing quite a lot of resources, are actually starting to pay for themselves quite nicely. So let's have a quick look at units killed. Right now Namshar has not killed anything, whereas these phoenixes have actually destroyed 9 units for ShoWTimE. So this is quite good play right now. He's basically going around the whole map, being very, very disruptive with these phoenixes. The big problem that these phoenixes will have though is that once the hydralisks come up, he does not have that whole lot of ground capability. So if he gets hydralisks and zergs and starts zerglings and rushes into his opponent's base, there's not going to be a whole lot to defend here. Now, in answer to what I just said, of course ShoWTimE is going for Colossi, which is the ultimate anti-zerg ground defense. So being very disruptive, I think he's doing actually quite well right now to keep up with a zerg economy. He's got the same amount of workers, same amount of army supply. Of course, a lot of the army supply is in phoenixes, but spotting this hatchery actually is a big deal as well, managing to see exactly where his opponent is. And now this overseer definitely wants to be careful not to get caught up by those phoenixes, and does actually get caught out. That's actually quite a big deal. This is a lot of losses here that Namshar is experiencing. So 3 kills on this, 1, 5, 2. These phoenixes are very, very effective right now. There's one Zergling coming out here just to see what kind of expansions he's expecting. It does see there's no expansion in this direction. Gonna move up to the front here. Probably gonna get taken out if he's not careful. This is probably just to distract his opponent from looking around too much. Now, Overseer is on the way. He probably doesn't feel very comfortable right now because he's not sure why there's not more units rushing into his base. So this Overseer, of course, is very quick. Going to be able to scout out and see a whole lot here in his opponent's base. Now, again, taking out a few drones, and this is exactly what he needs to continue doing with those phoenixes. Since he cannot fight phoenixes directly with hydralisks, I mean, he has enough phoenixes to probably take out most of them, but it would still be risky to lose a few phoenixes. And if he doesn't lose phoenixes but manages to continue with the economic pressure. Oh no, this is huge. Getting caught out here. That's 3 phoenixes getting destroyed here by these hydralisks, and that was a bit of a mess up from ShoWTimE to get those caught out. Now that gives Namshar a bit of extra breathing space, which is exactly what he wanted to secure at this point. He's got the higher worker supply, he's gotten a slightly smaller army, but that really doesn't matter with these kind of numbers. And he's got his fort base fully established. Now ShoWTimE is also getting his fort base up and running now, so he's going to have equivalent income shortly as soon as he manages to saturate this base as well. The main base, of course, is going to start to dwindle on minerals, as you can see here. Some of those are actually running out very soon. But this Overseer has pretty much seen everything in his opponent's base. He knows that there could be Colossi in a base. Actually, now he knows for a fact. And of course, he has to be very careful at this point. I mean, if he gets too aggressive with his expansions, which this one is actually a risky one, because he doesn't really have the supply availability to build more workers onto that. I mean, this base is only half saturated. This is fully saturated. This is fully saturated, and this is fully saturated. But if he builds any more, then he's going to have a very small limit of units that he can actually build into his army. And of course, you don't want to do that as a Zerg. The purpose of Zerg is to have a large army that you can continuously reinforce and attack with all the time. Now, some gas disruption here. Oh, managing to take out a total of 7 workers, losing 1 Phoenix though in the process, but 7 workers, definitely worth that exchange. That was actually quite well played there. I like what he did there. Making use of those Phoenix, even when they're down in numbers, is quite good. Now, Infestor Pit is actually already up, Spire's up, Lurkerden is up. Wow, Namshar is just going all out tech right now, and this is absolutely fantastic. I love to see this kind of playstyle where you have the option to pretty much go for whatever you want, and you know, whatever you want to build, you can just do it. There's nothing stopping you at that point. Now, Ravagers being, sorry, no, these are actually Lurkers, so a lot of Lurkers being morphed in here, and this is going to be huge. He's going to probably try to fight that Protoss army straight on. Now, the question is going to be, will he be able to or not? Now, being very careful not to get caught out here. He wants to get those Lurkers burrowed before he fights onto the Protoss army. Now, we got ourselves a Zealot engagement here. 8 Zealots in total. Could completely shut down this base, and he is going to do just that. Now, this is just one of 5 bases, so not going to do a whole lot of trouble, but so many units getting destroyed here. This is absolutely massive. ShoWTimE with the Colossus. Colossi are such a big deal right now, because all of Namshar's army is actually a small, weak units that get destroyed by Colossi, which is unfortunate. But hey, look, a recall actually coming down here, and looks like all of these units getting very, very clearly, quickly cleaned up here by ShoWTimE's units. Now, going to possibly lose all of these overlords as well. That is unfortunate, but of course the army or the supply is well above 200 for Namshar, and he's going to probably build a few more overlords just to supplement that, because you always want to be above 200. If you let just your overlord supply fall below 200, not only are you potentially losing out on transport and site potential, but you also could get supply blocked if you get you know, phoenixes like that destroying your overlords. Now, let's see what he's going to do here. Army supply is favoring ShoWTimE, but we all know that when you've got yourself this many Lurkers, if your opponent's army gets caught up by these Lurkers, that could very well spell GG very quickly. Now, interesting to see, we got ourselves a mothership and a... Now, this is fantastic. I did not expect this kind of play from ShoWTimE. He's actually opted to go for 2 carriers already, and he's probably going to be building more. He's got 2 more carriers. He's actually upgrading his carriers as well. I actually can't believe the fact that we're seeing so much in terms of tech from both of these players. It's so rare to see tech in Legacy of the Void getting this late. Sometimes Terran versus Zerg can get quite late, but Protoss versus Zerg, definitely not one that I've seen go very late recently. Now, these Lurkers doing a lot of damage here, taking out some of the production capabilities, shutting down the base entirely, and of course, just being a pest in the front of his opponent's base. Now, they're going to get destroyed here. There's, of course, going to be an observer somewhere in the air here to spot these Lurkers, and the Lurkers are going to get slowly cleaned up. This base also kind of getting a bit of damage done to it, but not a whole lot. There's only a few Hydralisks here getting cleaned up now, but 16 probes have been destroyed so far, and Namshar doing quite well with his army. Now, at this point, we've got ourselves, what is that? That is a total of 3. Yeah, that's 3 carriers. I think there was actually supposed to be 4, unless he lost one, and there's 1 more being built as well. Now, with Colossi, carrier, and mothership core, or mothership up in the air, that's actually quite a difficult army to break through, because you have to kill the well, either you have to have an overseer, or you have to kill the mothership core first before you start doing any damage. Now, level 3 weapons for Protoss is about to complete as well, so this is going to be a very crucial moment for the ground army. Now, he seems to love sending his zealots on a little rampage down to this corner here, so he's going to shut this base down, probably going to have to cancel it. There we go, and then at that point getting cleaned up at with these zealots. Now, just hiding the Overseer drop here, or Overlord drop, with a bunch of Hydralisks in it. Now, it's very difficult to do what Namshar is trying to do right now. He's trying to break his opponent, or at least break his economy, with ground units that like Hydralisks and Roaches. Now, well, I suppose in this case it's Hydralisks and Lurkers. What he needs to do, though, is he needs to get some anti-air, so proper anti-air, such as Corruptors. And reason for that is, of course, because Corruptors can attack pretty much everything that he's got. He's got 5 of these huge air units, and then he's got himself Colossi in the back as well. And I think that unless he manages to get Corruptors up, he won't be able to break an army such as this. It just does too much damage. Now, these Colossi not getting recalled could potentially be in a bit of out of position with this Zerg army coming in here. And this is very risky. These two Colossi could get destroyed here, running straight into them. One is about to get sniped off. The second one is safely standing behind the buildings. Will he manage to snipe it off as well? There's a lot of units here. This is actually quite dangerous, but there is another drop here in the main with a lot of Hydras destroying the economic line. Is he going to be able to snipe off more units here? It does certainly look like he is quite safe with that amount of Hydras here. This side did get cleaned up, but 20 probes have been destroyed so far. This is quite a big deal with so much economic damage. And look at the production facilities here. He's actually prevented the level sorry, this is level 1 ship damage or air armor from being built here, so that is very, very important. Carriers are, of course, one interrupted here. It does have more production capability at this time, and he's just been relentless. He's destroying all of ShoWTimE's economy. Now, despite the fact that economy is not everything, if your army supply is getting dwindled down by everything that ShoWTimE throws at you, then that's a changeling. Look at the amount of changelings that you've got there, and ShoWTimE has been using so many Zerglings that at this point it's like, sorry, ShoWTimE has been using so many zealots that he's getting confused with what's his and what's not. Of course, that's exactly the purpose of those changelings, just to see exactly what's going on. He sees that base is actually not being put up yet, and the full-on engage here. Now, there's enough Hydras here probably to clean up this air army, so he definitely wants to stay careful not to throw too many of these carrier shuttles here, because if he loses too many, it's going to cost him a lot to replenish them, and of course could potentially lose the Hydras off that too. Now, are those changelings still around? Yeah, you can see that the changelings are still in his opponent's base, so they're seeing exactly what's going on here. As you can see, there's quite a few minerals here which are being long distance mined, but he's not too concerned about replenishing that at the moment. He's gotten a nice big army supply. He does have a decent income despite the fact that he's actually technically sitting on only 4 bases, but I think that he probably would want to bring up this Nexus at some point shortly, because there's quite a few minerals here, and of course the gas is also important to collect. Now, another drop coming down here. This is a mix of Roach and Hydras, but getting spotted out pretty quickly here, and is going to drop the units as soon as possible just so they don't get destroyed for nothing. Manages to lose 1 Phoenix. Is he going to get another one? No, he does not. Or was that a Phoenix? No, I think that was actually a unit picked up. And I think that at the moment, Namshar is still missing a very crucial unit, the Corruptor. Now, he is getting level 1 weapons, which suggests that he might be shifting towards that shortly, but is it too late? That's the question I'm wondering. He's delayed it quite a bit, so he's lost so many units to these very heavy units that essentially only heavy anti-air can destroy, and he's kind of leaving it a little bit too late, in my opinion at least. Now, there's a bit of engagement here as well. A few units from the Zerg getting caught out. Not a huge deal, but with the amount of bases that he has, he will be able to reinforce that quite quickly. Now, a 17 or 18 minute match even, that's quite unheard of in Legacy of the Void, at least not back when I was casting. These days maybe it's a bit more common, but so far I've cast, what, about 20 games, and I still haven't seen a game this long, so this is quite a breath of fresh air to see a game that lasts this long with so much tech in it as well. Now, an Oracle being built this late is probably only for traps and revealing. It's unlikely to be used for any sort of harassment, because of course it's just a bit too late for that kind of small harassment that Oracles can pull off. And he's just moving straight in here. ShoWTimE is just not scared of Namshar. Namshar has gotten a smaller army. He's got much more economy, but there we go. The Corruptors are actually finally up in the air, start to do damage, and this is what he needed to do, I think, about 5 minutes ago, when he saw that his opponent was investing so much in air units. So Corruptors in the air here, they're going to probably start to do quite a lot of damage once he starts fighting them straight into the opponent's base. Now, keep in mind the Corruptors can damage buildings as well, and when you've got this many Corruptors, you can actually destroy a building quite quickly. Now the ground army here is nothing really too impressive here from Namshar. He wants to be very careful not to lose everything, because if he loses his entire ground army, he could potentially lose everything at that point, because he just won't have enough to fight the Protoss army at all. Now ShoWTimE is looking quite confident moving up a little bit like that. He's all the way across the map. He's gotten himself his... Oh no, don't let your corruptors go for free like that. This Nexus, of course, is going to drop. There's not a whole lot he can do. And the question there really is, was that worth to lose so many corruptors for? The answer is probably yes, considering how little economy ShoWTimE has at this time. And Namshar can, of course, reinforce that. Now, the corruptors are going to come back in here, going to potentially help with destroying all of these heavy air units. And will it be enough? He's going to start to attack these phoenixes as well. A bit of economic damage start to be done here as well. 9 probes at this point, or drones at this point. And this mothership core is being quite the menace here with hiding the units. Of course, he does have, you know, spore crawlers and overseers to reveal it, but he doesn't have the army right now to deal with these units. That's the biggest problem that he has. And he's making roaches as well. Probably not the best choice when he is being absolutely slaughtered by air units at this moment. And GG has been called, and as I said, I think that he just waited a little bit too long to get those corruptors. The army of ShoWTimE managed to build up a little bit too much to the point where it just was just too late to start corruptor building, and he couldn't hold off. But that's unfortunately how the game goes. Sometimes you make a bad call and it costs you the game. So that was game number 3 going in favor of ShoWTimE. We're going to move on to the next one.